Yes, sir.
My name is Dave Capece. I've been a member of the town for about 45 years and a taxpayer and a self-employed businessman for a while. I had been on the employee of the Clinton Public Schools for the last 6 or 7 years and a member of the maintenance department. And about 3 weeks ago I was fired for allegedly taking part in some kind of action that revealed an expense that I think maybe embarrassed some people on the Board of Education. For many years, I didn't really give a rat's interest in the budget of the town. I just lived here and worked here. In the last 6 or 7 years, being on the maintenance department of the Clinton Public Schools, I did see a lot of things that just as a regular person, I would wonder about. Expenses that were paid, expenses that were, accrued, and work that was hired that could have been done different ways. And I never really kind of thought about it until this thing turned up. And I was fired 3 weeks ago for taking part in something or being alleged to taking part of something that, like I said, embarrassed some people on the Board of Ed. It opened my eyes. And I like what Kim Buckley said, I understand how she feels about, we want to trust the people that we hand our money to as a taxpayer, that they're going to spend it wisely. But I can honestly say that I've seen in the past 6 or 7 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have probably been spent in other ways that wouldn't have been spent as $100,000 or $200,000. And I just want you people in this room and on the board to know that it's not all what you think. I can give you example after example, and I don't know if this is the place to do it, but if you'd like me to, I will. But if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'd love to, answer some questions. But I think you need to know that sometimes the people we hire to do the jobs that, we trust aren't doing it the way they should. And sometimes the easiest road is to take the easiest path. That might not be the best path. It's just the path of least resistance. And I know as a self-employed person, when I needed to get from point A to point B, I did just 2 steps, point A to point B. And I got the job done as quick as I could for as cheap as I could to make the most money that I could. I see sometimes in the municipal world that people go from step A to -4 steps backwards, to 2 steps forwards, to 3 more steps backwards, spending 3 times the amount of money, and it's not their money. It's our money. I'm a taxpayer. And I was told once that, I answer to certain people, but since I'm no longer employed by the Clinton Public Schools, those people now answer to me as a taxpayer. And if all the things I see and I think I know, I should tell. And I should not just accept what you say and what you do because you tell me to. And like I say, I have countless examples. I don't know when is the proper time to say them. If now is then, I would. If it's not now, then at a later date. But when I see a budget of $1 million in a maintenance department, or $700,000 or $800,000, and I think I could spend $300,000 or $400,000 less just by doing things differently, that's a lot of money that we are spending. If I was going to buy a house and it's worth $500,000, and I spent $800,000 to buy that same house, you would look at me and say that was dumb. But when we do it in a budget, it's not so bad. And when you can hide a bunch of bills under a couple other titles, you and I don't get to look and see what makes up those big numbers of $300,000 or $400,000. But accrued in there is a bunch of numbers that could have been saved in different ways. I know a number like $70,000 could buy 2 teachers' salaries, brand new teachers. It could buy a number of vehicles for the town. It could pay a lot of things. But instead, it could be used for simple stuff, like maybe moving snow or something like that. We're pushing around water, and we don't mind spending a lot of money to push around frozen water, but we can push around people for free. And that's my point, is I just want you guys to understand that having been involved and seeing certain things, I don't know where my outlet is. Is this the place for it or not? But anybody here who's interested, I'm willing to talk if anybody wants to listen. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
since you brought it up, it is on my agenda to discuss. The Board of Education averages between $1,500 and $3,800 per plow event, $95 an hour per truck. This year, for some reason, they called out a secondary, they have a primary contractor that does their plowing. This year, they called out a secondary contractor on 2 snow events. The bill for one was $22,200. The bill for the second event was $35,674. And this is with a, I was overwhelmed with that kind of lack of proper maintenance. And I also see that in their budget this year, they have a 5% increase for the head of maintenance.
Yeah, I
am aware of.
I might add, if I could, they also have 2 brand new town trucks with plows that could do all the plowing with the staff that they had a while back. But they also hired contractors at $30,000+ a year to remove snow. So you have 2 trucks that could do it with people that could have done it, and you hired an outside service to do it, and you paid for an outside service on top of that to move more snow. On top of that, you hired people to clean off the roof. So, you know, when you add it all up,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to say? I don't know where you are with your plowing and maintenance contract, but I think it would be worthy of discussion with the Department of Public Works to have them not only take over the outside maintenance of the grounds for the Board of Education, but the plowing. These 2 incredible expenses, adding up to $57,914 for 2 storms, is, needless to say, shocking. And I don't understand how that could have happened with the amount of supervision.
So there's 2 parts of that. One is the first of those 2 bills, or the first of those 2 events took place with coordination ultimately with the emergency management group in the town, where both the Department of Public Works and the Board of Ed looked at the impending storm relative to snow removal, and we had lined up outside contractors on both sides ultimately to move snow out of our parking lots. And in both cases, the exorbitant amount of snow that we received this winter on those 2 occasions, it wasn't just a matter of pushing it out of the way, it was getting it off of our lots and out of the way so we could actually be able to use our parking lots. So they are exorbitant. I don't argue that. Is it possible that in the second go-round we could have come up with a better strategy? Perhaps. I won't argue that. I think we were looking at the time at expediency of making sure that we could open schools, and took advantage of a long weekend where we had closures already to minimize the impact of school closures and to clear the lots as best we could, so that given the continued snowfall that we were anticipating, which we in fact did have, that we would have some place to move the snow.
But snow is a New England event. You budgeted $27,000. That seemed to do fine in the years past.
And that's true. And this was, I think,
I just don't understand why the average snow removal is $1,500 to $3,800, and you were charged $22,000 and $35,000 on top of the other contract. I just think that it'd be worthy of having a discussion with the board, with the Department of Public Works.
I would be happy to entertain that.
Save money. And I really question why the head of maintenance got a 5% raise after an event like this. But
Can I just make a comment? I'm a public educator in the Milford Public Schools. There were 4 days where I didn't have school and Clinton Public Schools did as a result of the expediency and the effectiveness of the snow removal. We live in New England, and New England is unpredictable. So to say that we can put a line item in there and for it to be maintained at a consistent level, we live in an unpredictable environment.
Madam, I appreciate your comment, but if you're paying $4,000 for snow removal and then you're charged $35,000 for the snow removal, for an event, it's shocking. It's not.
But you have to weigh the amount of snow over the period of time they came, because that's what the snow removal costs are based on.
I think we.
And the comment was that there were 2 other Public Works trucks, and I'm not denying that we could definitely partner up with Public Works. However, I don't feel as though that would. Public Works might have something to say about that. Right, and I mean, and I still don't think that would be enough, considering the storms that we had this year. The parking lots at the schools are small. I know if you look in a grocery store parking lot where they're not moving the snow, the pile is 25 feet high.
Cut you off.
It could create an unsafe environment for kids in the parking lot. I mean, there are factors that I don't think you're considering.
I'm considering an obese bill. That's the only thing I'm considering. I'm just looking at numbers. Okay?